This is section 8.6, the last lesson of chapter 8, and we'll conclude this chapter with this video of solving equations. The first type of equation that we're going to ask you to solve is in front of you. It's a two equal ratios. We call that a proportion. And so I thought I'd start with this and piggyback knowledge that you already know, which is I think most of you know how to solve a proportion, two equal ratios. The first step is to cross multiply. So we're going to do that here. We're going to take and multiply 5 times both the x squared and the minus 1. I'm going to multiply 15 times both the 2x minus 2. When we do that successfully, we'll end up with 5x squared minus 5. Don't forget to multiply 5 times both terms equals 30x minus 30. Notice I multiplied 15 times both terms. And by doing this, it creates an equation, quadratic equation, that we can now solve. So what I'd like to have you do at this time is, now that I've converted this proportion into an equation, see if you can solve the quadratic equation that's in front of you. Okay, welcome back. As you can see, after our cross multiplication of our proportion, it has created two cross products, which we now can solve. And the equation that we have currently to solve was this. You can see the first thing I did was I set it equal to 0. So I ended up with 5x squared minus 30x plus 25 equals 0. It's at this time you could use the quadratic formula, and I provided that for you in case you'd rather use that. I opted to factor a 5 out. I like factoring better. It's quicker. It's more efficient if you can factor. And when I factored the 5 out, I got x squared minus 6x plus 5 in parentheses with a 5 in front is equal to 0. I then factored it into 5 times x minus 5x minus 1 equal to 0. Brought it over here, solved both of these to get x equals 5 and x equals 1. Now, one of the things that you have to make sure you're careful with here is you always have to check the answer. The answers in this case. 1 is not going to work for us, because if we substitute 1 in to this denominator here, if we put that in right here, that creates 1 squared minus 1, which is 0. So we cannot divide by 0. So 1 is not going to work for us. It wouldn't work here either, because as you can see, 2 times 1 is 2, minus 2 is 0. We cannot generate an answer that creates 0 in the denominator. So we call this an extraneous solution. We throw that out. Now 5 does work, so we would have only one solution. That, of course, is 5. So hopefully that went well. Now what we're going to do is solve the next equation. And again, I'm going to try and piggyback things that you already know how to do. So what I want you to do here with this equation number 2, first of all, I want you to be able to recognize the form it's in. In number 1, we had a proportion, two equal ratios. We don't have that here. We have a fraction minus a fraction equal to another fraction. So you can't do it. Your cross multiplication is not going to work for us. So what we're going to do here first is find the LCM or LCD of all three denominators. And I'd like to have you try and do that on your own. That's something hopefully you can do. And then when you're done, I'm going to hit pause. When you're done, or you hit pause, and when you're done, come back, and I'll have the LCD all worked out for you. Okay, welcome back. As you can see, I've found the LCD of all three denominators of the fractions. Here's how we do that. Circle, as you can see, I circled in red the two x's that are in common, listing that just once. So when I created this LCD, I brought that over here. Then I circled the two 2's and listed that just once. Brought that over there. And my leftover 5 gets brought over, giving me an LCD, or least common denominator, of 10x. Now, why am I doing this? The next step in this process, once we find a least common denominator, is to rewrite all our fractions with that LCD. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to ask ourselves, okay, I've got 2x here. How do I turn that into a 10x? And the answer to that question is just multiply by 5. If I multiply both of these by 5, I'll get 5 over 10x. Now, as you can see, I'm going to put all this over the same denominator, which is something I can do since they're all the same. When I'm finished with this, they'll all be the same. The second fraction, I'm going to multiply by 2. So it becomes minus 4. So 5 came to us from multiplying by 5 to get 10x on the bottom of our fraction. And here we multiply by 2 to create the least common denominator of 10x. And then our last fraction, I'm going to put an equal sign here. It needs to be multiplied by a 5 and an x. 5 and an x. And that's going to create 10x on the bottom, which is my LCD, and 5x on top. Now, once you've rewritten all the fractions with an LCD, you can focus your attention just on the numerator, this part right here, and then solve that part only, and that will be your value of x. So if we're successful in that, here's what's going to happen. First, subtract 5 and 4, which is 1, is equal to 5x. Divide by 5, and you will come up with the value that x can be in this setting. X equals 1/5. So we end up with 1/5 as our variable. So several steps here. First step is to find the LCD of all three fractions. List that on the bottom like we did here. Then rewrite all your fractions with that least common denominator. And I did that here, here, and here. You just have to figure out what's missing and multiply by that. And then you just solve the numerator for x. In this case, the numerator was a linear equation, pretty simple. Just solve for x, you got 1/5. Okay. Now what we're going to do, I've got one more problem to do here, and that's number 3. What I need you to do for me, I'm going to hit pause. I want you to find the LCD of all three of these these two fractions, and then put 6 over 1 and include that in your LCD. So I'll give you a few moments to do that, and when you come back, I'll have it all worked out for you. Okay, welcome back. As you can see, I've calculated the LCD, least common denominator, first by factoring x squared minus 4, which is the difference of squares, or x minus 2x plus 2. I had x plus 2 and x minus 2 here, and that shouldn't have been there, so we left that out. It's just 1. So we factored x squared minus 4 to x minus 2x plus 2. We got an x minus 2, and we got a 1. So let's circle what they have in common here. What they have in common is going to be, I got to factor this out again here, it's going to be just x minus 2. So you list that once. You then list the x plus 2 and the 1 isn't going to make any difference. So our LCD, least common denominator, is x minus 2, x plus 2. Again, we have just x minus 2's in common, and you slide down the x plus 2 as part of your LCD. Now, what we're going to do next, now that we have the least common denominator, is to rewrite our fractions. The first fraction is missing an x plus 2, so we're going to multiply by x plus 2, both the numerator and the denominator. So if we do that successfully, we'll get x plus 2 on top. The second fraction has everything we need in our denominator. So it does not need to be changed, because if you factor x squared minus 4, you have everything that's exactly as is. So that's going to be minus 3x. Our last fraction needs everything. We got a 1 there, so we're going to have to multiply by x. And I'm just going to multiply it back together again, x squared minus 4. That would be the easiest way to distribute this out. Again, this is the same as x minus 2 and x plus 2. And that's going to give us 6x squared minus 24. Once you've got that set up and it's all over the LCD, you can just focus your attention on the numerator right here and solve that. So I'm going to take time here and let you solve through the numerator, see if you can come up with the value of x. And remember to watch for extraneous solutions, solutions that make the denominator into a 0. So you go ahead and work through that to the best of your ability, and when you're done, hit play, and I'll have it completely worked out for you. Okay, welcome back. As you can see, I've completed the solving of the numerator of our equation. So just to review again, we found the LCD of x minus 2 and x plus 2. We multiplied all the fractions by what was missing, and instead of multiplying the 6 by x minus 2 and x plus 2, I actually multiplied it together, and that foils out to be x squared minus 4. So then what's circled in red here is what we need to solve, and as you can see, it's a quadratic. This one is not factorable, so I put it equal to 0. You can see I put the x and minus 3x to get negative 2x. We got 2 there, 6x squared minus 24. I added 2x to both sides. At the same time, I subtracted 2. I got 6x squared plus 2x minus 26. And to help reduce things a little bit, I factored out a 2. That just made my a, b, and c values a little less. You don't have to do that. You can use a as 6, b as 2, and c as 26, and you'll get the same solution. Then I pulled down my quadratic formula. I substituted everything in. I put the b in as 1, so that became -1. So we got 1 squared minus 4 times a, which is 3, times a -13, all over 2 times a, which is 3. And then you simplify the discriminant, you get 157. It's approximately 12.5. Take -1 plus 12.5 divided by 6, so it'll give you 1.9. -1 minus 12.5 divided by 6 will give you the approximate answer of -2.25. And both are acceptable answers because neither one generates 0 in our denominator. So hopefully that went well. There's a lot of math that we have taught in this class in this one problem. So feel free to watch it again if you need to. But that is the end of this video, and it's the only video for section 8.6. So good luck with that.